Hi Patrick, Marc Hardwick from Tech Market View, the Analyst House, here today with Patrick Corcoran, Head of Analyst Relations at Hitachi Digital Services. We're getting close to the end of the fiscal year. Hitachi Limited has got a new CEO in place, and we're going to be talking about the EMEA market and your view on what you see going on in that space.
We do. Good to be with you again, Mark. I know we've done several sessions with Tech Market View and yourself around Hitachi Digital Services since the inception, but we even go further back, to some of the old Hitachi world. So as you rightly said, we have a new CEO at Hitachi Limited. That position rotates every 3 years. So Tokunaga-san, who used to be responsible for all the services businesses within Hitachi Limited, has taken on the role of CEO. And I think that's a tremendous stride for the services business, a good cheer, if you will, because we now have, another leader dedicated to growing the services part of Hitachi Limited, through Hitachi Limited for the rest of the organization. And as you mentioned, we're also close to the end of our fiscal year. So this has been Hitachi Digital Services' first full year as our own organization, which has been tremendously exciting, a lot of fun around the world.
So we're here today to talk about Hitachi Digital Services in the EMEA marketplace, and to explore some of the trends that you're seeing shaping that market. There's obviously a lot going on in EMEA, continuing demand for digital transformation. We've got AI integration driving lots of investment, IT, OT, integration, so lots of things happening, very dynamic market. Just be really interested to get your perspective on what the key trends are really that are driving that market.
So I think when I look at EMEA, and you've been studying it a little bit longer than I have in terms of, what are some of the key trends? I almost am starting to believe that the trends don't change that much, that everyone is looking to do things faster, more secure. There are ups and downs with cost optimization and some of the investments you can make off the front or the back end of that. They want to be more competitive in the market from a B2B, B2C perspective. So I think those key pillars will always exist. The question then becomes, well, what type of technology investment is needed to enable that? So you mentioned IT/OT, right? That is one of the core pillars of our strategy, which is around these two separate units, particularly in the asset-heavy industries, IT and OT, that have a requirement now to start to work together in a much more complementary fashion than operating as two distinct business areas from an IT/OT side. Things are coming together. The digital and the physical are coming together. And if you don't have cooperation between those two, those asset-heavy companies are going to get left behind. So for us, having the OT background from Hitachi Limited, and obviously the IT side from the services entities within Hitachi, we see that as a tremendous opportunity because we're seeing it internally as well. So to me, that is a number one core area where we need to focus in the EMEA market. You also mentioned, in terms of cloud, and we all talk about cloud in many different ways. Cloud engineering, cloud transformation, cloud migration, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, private cloud, public cloud, co-location, on-prem. All of these things still exist. The question is, are you being effective in your spend, and is it impacting your business? And I think there's still plenty of opportunity in this market to invest there. And finally, you mentioned ERP, another big one, whether it be the next move to S4 or just optimizing whatever you're doing with Dynamics, Oracle, Workday, Salesforce. The platform economy is certainly here to stay, and that's going to require a lot of future investment.
I think you're spot on. It's a really good, accurate assessment of where the market is going at the moment. I'd be really interested to get sight on where you guys are investing in the marketplace. What are the big bets that you're making at the moment?
So your good thing is I thought you were going to ask me about AI because I didn't mention that as a key trend. But just to table that for a moment, because I think a lot of this is happening with AI sort of embedded and really fleshed throughout all of it. our investments will continue to be in the industry focus, both asset heavy and asset light. It'll continue to be in the application space, primarily driven by the ERP and the managed services angle. And it'll certainly continue to be in the cloud space, right? And all of these things create the ability to make digital transformation a reality for companies. So, those that say they focus on digital and invest in digital, well, what's more important is what technologies are you leveraging to actually advance that within the enterprise? And AI is a piece that just sort of circums all of it, right? It circles every piece of the areas of focus, whether it's horizontal or vertical for us. But it is important now, and I think this is true for EMEA, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. The industry-specific language, because of the competitiveness in the B2B market, is more important than ever. And I think that's been a big piece of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the industry specific domain focus, domain expertise is where a lot of customers want and expect you guys to be able to deliver. It's also a key differentiator, I think, for Hitachi Digital Services. And just touching on that in terms of how you're working with those clients, are you seeing much demand for co-creation?
Absolutely. The co-creation mantra has been around for a long time, but it sort of always ended when once it was created, it became the client's. But nowadays, I think the enterprise is looking at providers to almost act like a partner would be in the context of how we would work with an SAP or an AWS or a Microsoft, right? They want that type of supplier relationship, and that allows you to actually truly co-create because you're sitting in the same office together as peers, right? And not as supplier, the typical vendor enterprise relationship. So I think the way that the new workforce is thinking about engaging with vendors is very much driven by their partner mentality they do with other, some of the bigger names that they have from a B2B perspective. So that's certainly been important. But the only way to do that is to have that industry expertise, or else you're just creating something that almost anybody can create from a tech side. But the purpose is, what does it do for your business, right? And that's where that industry piece comes in. Something like industry cloud, would be a good example of a piece of that. You need to understand an industry to get it right.
So Patrick, I just want to go back to the uniqueness of the EMEA market. I mean, in many ways, it's a very, very diverse market. It's a market of markets, different jurisdictions. What's the Hitachi Digital Services approach?
So it's certainly true that one size doesn't fit all in EMEA, right? When you look at regions, so UK, Northern Europe, DACH region, even EMEA, Central and Eastern Europe, all of these countries and regions have different industry strengths. They also have their maturity levels are also quite different in terms of their IT investments, right, within the enterprise. So when you think about, let's start with UK, Northern Europe, you certainly have a lot more mature outsourcing experience within a lot of the companies here. So their focus is not to do run-of-the-mill work, although important. They're looking at change the business more aggressively than they are run the business, because they're, generally speaking, second and third year outsourcing, organizations. And that's, I think, where AI is playing a big role, especially within BFSI, retail, CPG, automotive, some of those areas within, the UK, Northern Europe region. Now, you think about the DACH region, what's the number one thing that pops into your mind? Regulation, right? And sort of sovereignty when it comes to data. And obviously, cloud plays a role there, but also a very asset-heavy industry, manufacturing, automotive, CPG, aerospace, defense, including France in that sort of that region as well, but also BFSI, and a lot of legacy there. So, but again, you're looking at second and third generation outsourcing again. But very specific country needs define how you outsource as well and how you pitch as a provider. And then you have, Central and Eastern Europe, which has, very first generation outsourcing, but also very strong within engineering and also very, used very well by a lot of organizations for service delivery within providers. One of the benefits, Mark, of Hitachi is it has access to all of these countries in many different ways. Hitachi Rail, Hitachi Energy, Hitachi Europe, Hitachi Digital Services. And so that allows us to really understand a lot of these regional complexities when it comes to how to outsource, how to pitch, what to do, what are the industry norms. And so that allows us to really use a fine-tune our strategy when it comes to how we approach EMEA. And I think that's a big value add that we bring to a lot of our clients.
Yeah, I think that approach makes a lot of sense. It is a very diverse and complex region, and you have so many different touch points right across Europe. It makes sense to make best use of that experience and maturity. The other question I had for you is just looking ahead, so looking over the next sort of 12, 18 months, can you give me a sort of steer on the sort of top 2 or 3 priorities for Hitachi Digital Services in terms of areas that you're looking to invest in?
Mid-market. So mid-market for us has been a historic area that we have sold into, not just in EMEA, but around the world. Being a startup size provider in a corporate environment is how we like to describe ourselves. It gives us the opportunity to work with a lot of first-gen outsourcers in the mid-market, because that's an area that needs a lot of guidance on how to do work. They need to be very careful about how they make their investments. They need to be coached, but they also want to innovate at the same time. And that allows a company with our sort of structure to really do well. So mid-market for us is key across all of the regions, not just EMEA, but specifically here, we see it as an area of opportunity, both in asset heavy and asset light, given the way that we operate. So the priority will be continue to work in that space. And I think if you look at, including Tech Market Views, a lot of the analyst research, mid-market is something that's very hot right now. So we want to pursue that. And then I think what follows that is what we spoke about earlier in terms of ERP, cloud, AI, the IT, OT piece. But I think for us is we want to really keep the pencil sharp on who before the what part.
Yeah, okay, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Patrick. Great conversation. I've got a much better understanding of how you view the EMEA market, and really looking forward to staying in touch and hearing about how that develops.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.